A little boy named Martin can't sleep. And honestly, you can't blame him. Because every time the lights go off in his house, something is in there with him. But let's start before that. Let's start with a woman alone in a hallway. Paul, Martin's stepdad, is at his textile warehouse late at night. He's on a video call with Martin on his laptop, doing the tired dad thing, telling him he'll be home soon. There's a carton of files sitting on his desk, and before he leaves, he flips one open. It reads, Mulberry Hill, California. He stares at it a moment, then closes the laptop and heads out. His employee Esther is still in the building. She's in the corridor, writing a little note, minding her own business, when the lights go out. For a second, she waves her hands in the air like you do when you think it's one of those motion sensor situations. The lights come back. The clothes on a nearby hanger rustle like something just ran through them. She looks around, walks to the next room, turns the light on. And that's when it starts. A figure. A dark, woman-shaped figure, standing at the edge of the light. Esther turns the light off. The figure is there. She turns it back on. Gone. She does this over and over. Off. There. On. Gone. Each time more disbelieving than the last, until the final time, when it feels too real. Too close. She backs away, heart hammering, not fully understanding what she's just seen. Paul comes looking for her. He walks through the dark corridor alone and hears something moving. He stops, turns back, and there's a being. Roy crouched in the middle of the hallway. He calls out. It stands up. Paul waves his hand to trigger the lights. They come on, and the thing is right behind him. He can't see it, but he can feel it. He runs. He doesn't make it far. It catches him. He falls. His trousers tear. There are deep scratches across his leg, claw marks. He looks back and sees her rise. Scattered hair, white eyes, legs invisible in the darkness, moving toward him without quite touching the floor. He gets up, sprints into a room full of mannequins, slams the door, locks it, grabs a piece of wood. He stands at the window peering out. Then the lights outside the room flicker. The lights inside follow. The door handle begins to shake. The door opens. What happens next? The camera doesn't show cleanly. There's a sound of something being lifted. A crack of bones. So Paul drops to the corridor floor, covered in blood. The lights go out again. Paul never makes it home to Martin. Now we cut to Rebecca. She's Paul's stepdaughter from Sophie's first marriage, and she lives alone in her own apartment. And I mean that in a very intentional way. She left that house. She got out. She has a boyfriend named Brett who clearly adores her and is doing everything short of begging to be let to stay the night. He's negotiating. Not a drawer, not a key, just one sock. One sock in her dresser. She tells him no, calls from her window and throws the sock back at him. She smiles. He smiles. She goes back inside. She doesn't know what's coming yet. Meanwhile, in Sophie's house, Martin hears something. He gets up and walks out of his room. There's an array of family picture frames on the wall as he goes. The kind of normal domestic detail that makes what comes next feel worse. He gets to the sitting room. Sophie is there, talking to herself. She tells him to go back to bed. He turns to go. Halfway down the hall, he looks back. There's a shadow behind his mother. A figure that isn't his mother. Martin runs to his room, locks the door, climbs into bed and pulls the duvet close. The door handle begins to shake. He's 8 years old. Martin is falling asleep in homeroom for the third time in a week. His teacher reports it to child services, and that's how a social worker named Emma ends up calling Rebecca. Martin's stepfather is dead. Sophie is off her medication, and Martin is living in a house with something he calls Diana. Rebecca goes to the house. The reunion between her and Sophie is painful in that specific, exhausted family way, where everyone keeps their voice low and says very precise, cutting things. Sophie thinks everyone is overreacting. Rebecca wants to take Martin. Sophie says no. Martin is packing his bag, and as he steps into a hallway, Diana slams a door shut in his face, just to remind everyone she's listening. They leave anyway. Sophie is in tears on the doorstep, begging Rebecca not to take him. Rebecca doesn't turn back. How about she brings Martin to her apartment? He just says he needs sleep. He's 8 years old, and all he wants is to sleep safely. That gets me every time. Brett shows up later and asks the honest question, is Rebecca doing this to help Martin or to hurt Sophie? She tells him to leave. And that's the thing about Rebecca that the movie understands really well. She's not the hero because she's perfect. She's the hero because she keeps showing up anyway, even when her reasons are complicated. That night, something wakes her. She thinks it's Martin at first. There's a figure by her bed, pulling at the duvet. She reaches for the light, and there's nothing there. She gets up, walks toward where it was, and the lights trip off entirely. She sees it. The figure appears in the dark the way Diana always does. Suddenly, fully. Boorish like she was always there. The lights come back, Diana vanishes. Off again, she reappears. Rebecca sprints to the switch, gets the lights back on, runs to the bathroom to check herself in the mirror. She hears something fall in the bathroom, goes to look. It's just Martin, sound asleep in the bathtub. Somehow that's both a relief and unsettling. The next morning, after Martin leaves for school, Rebecca starts cleaning. She's picking up clothes from the floor when her eye catches something on the floorboard. She lifts the carpet, the scratched letters, Diana, and then she remembers, a memory of herself as a child, drawing little stick figures. She'd labeled them, Dad, Mom, me. She'd heard a sound. When she turned around, her drawing book was gone. She went to the closet, it dropped out. She opened it to the page, and it had been altered. Her father figure was covered over in black marker. And in between her and her mother, someone had drawn a new figure, named Diana. This wasn't a haunting that started recently. This has been here her whole life. She calls child services. Emma is gentle but clear. To get Martin away from Sophie permanently means taking her mother to court, declaring war, proving herself as a stable guardian. A long, painful legal process. Not a rescue, a battle. Rebecca is not ready for that, but she's also not ready to let this go. So she goes to her mother's old house. She bumps into a photograph she's never properly looked at. Two women, one holding an umbrella over herself to stay out of the light. On the back, in faded handwriting, Sophie and Diana, Mulberry Hill, California. It's the same address from Paul's files. She moves through the house looking for more. She finds the old drawing, her childhood drawing, the one she thought was just a bad memory. And immediately the door slams shut behind her. She bangs on it, screaming Brett's name. On the other side of the door, Brett is standing at the window. Curtains pulled back, light coming in. Diana is standing directly behind him. He can't see her. He has no idea. Then the door opens. Diana seizes Rebecca, lifts her off the ground. She's screaming. Brett hears it, finally gets the door open. Diana drops her and they run, taking the carton of files with them. The files tell them everything. Diana was admitted to Mulberry Hill Psychiatric Hospital as a teenager. She'd been found in a basement at 13 years old, locked away, her father dead by suicide. She had a severe and rare skin condition. Her body couldn't process light. Her skin burned and deteriorated in sunlight. There were records describing her as dangerous, capable of getting inside patients' minds, manipulating them, changing them. She was transferred to Mulberry Hill, where she became obsessed with another patient, a young woman named Sophie, who was there for depression following abandonment. They were inseparable. The doctors attempted an experimental treatment. They exposed Diana to high-intensity light, 1,200 watts, to try to treat the skin condition. Something went wrong. Diana died, but she didn't leave, because Rebecca now understands what the movie is actually about. Diana doesn't have an independent existence. She exists through Sophie. Sophie's mental state is the anchor. The worse Sophie gets, the more isolated, the more medicated or unmedicated, the more abandoned, the stronger Diana becomes. Diana has been keeping Sophie unwell deliberately, because without Sophie, Diana ceases to exist entirely. Let that sit for a second. A dead woman is sabotaging a mother's mental health so she can keep existing. It's not just a monster story, it's a codependency story. It's about the things we hold on to because they need us, even when holding on is destroying us. And Diana needs Sophie more than Sophie will ever admit. Meanwhile, Martin is back at Sophie's house. Sophie comes to him in the dark, holds him, and starts telling him a story, her voice soft, almost normal. She wants him to understand that Diana is her friend. She's holding him tightly. Martin tries to break free. He looks behind him. And Diana is walking toward them both, arms out, closing the distance. He twists free just in time, sprints to the light switch. Sophie screams at him not to turn it on. He does it anyway. Diana disappears. Sophie collapses to the floor, sobbing. Martin runs to Rebecca's apartment and tells her everything. Rebecca goes back to Sophie and lays out everything. The files, the recordings, Diana's obituary. Here is your friend. Here is proof she died. Here is proof this is not what you think it is. And Sophie, and this broke my heart, says those things can be faked. She says Diana is her friend. She says Rebecca abandoned her. Her father abandoned her. Paul is gone, and she refuses to abandon Diana the same way. She genuinely believes she owes Diana loyalty. That is how thoroughly this thing has worked its way into her. The monster has convinced the mother that love and captivity are the same thing. Sophie is not the villain of this story. I want to say that clearly. She is a woman so repeatedly abandoned, so long untreated, so thoroughly isolated that the one constant in her life, even if that constant is a dead girl feeding on her grief, has come to feel like the only real companionship she's ever had. That's not weakness. That's what prolonged loneliness does to a person. Rebecca makes the decision. They're all staying. Her, Brett, Martin, in Sophie's house. They flood the place with light, curtains flung open, a plaster taped over the light switch so it can't be turned off. Brett bringing extra bulbs, Martin lighting candles in every room. It's the most domestic act of warfare you've ever seen. Rebecca goes to Sophie's room. Sophie is in bed, shivering, looking small. She folds a piece of paper that reads, "I need help," and holds it out. They embrace. For a moment, it feels like it might actually be enough. Rebecca goes to the bathroom, finds Sophie's medication, untaken. She picks through the papers in a basket. The lights flicker. She stares at the bulb for a moment, then quickly leaves. The lights go out entirely. Brett goes outside with a torch. He looks at the street lamp. The bulb has been physically removed. Diana was preparing. Rebecca goes to the power switch and tries to restore it. Nothing responds. Martin wakes alone in a dark room. He grabs a candle and steps out. He goes to the drawer where he hid a torch. It's gone. Diana appears in the hallway. He holds the candle out. She surfaces behind him. He runs, trips. Aj nearly falls but manages to keep the candle burning and backs out of the corridor right into Rebecca. He tells her never to leave him again. Before they can move, Diana seals the door shut. They bang on it. It won't open. Sophie wakes up, goes to Diana with a candle. She walks toward her, telling her she's not afraid, telling her she'd never abandon her. Diana draws Sophie into the dark. Sophie tells her Diana needs her. Diana can't harm her. Sophie tries to take her medication, the pills she'd hidden. Diana blows them from her hand and throws her to the ground. In another part of the house, Rebecca and Martin have found a black light in a box, one of Paul's. Rebecca turns it on and moves through the dark. On the walls, in writing only visible under black light, are words. Just like the hospital, trapped down here. Trying to take Sophie away from me. Just like father. Diana has been writing on the walls. This is not new. This has been here, invisible in the daylight the whole time. Rebecca sweeps the black light through the room and finds mannequins. The warehouse mannequins, somehow here, placed throughout the basement. One of them has its face turned away from her. She stares at it. It turns its head, opens its mouth, screams. Rebecca grabs a spade to defend herself. Diana catches her wrist. Rebecca turns the black light directly onto Diana's hand. The skin starts to burn, to decay. The hand releases her. Diana is not immune to light. She's just been hiding from it. But then Diana throws something into the fireplace from above, and it explodes, killing the light source. Rebecca and Martin scream. In the chaos, Brett, who has been trying to get back in, arrives with police. They enter with flashlights and break the door open. Rebecca and Martin tumble out. One officer, cocky, tells Diana to show herself in the dark corridor. She does. She hits him so hard his light goes off. He fires at her. The shots land but mean nothing. She gets to him, kills him, and drags him into the dark. The other officer calls for backup. Diana drops the dead officer from above, just drops him at their feet. Brett gets Martin out. Rebecca says she's going for Sophie. She climbs the stairs. Diana grabs her through a doorway, reaches through and seizes her arm, pulling. Rebecca uses the door to pin Diana's hand in the light from the black light. Diana's hand burns. Diana kicks the door open anyway, grabs Rebecca and throws her down the stairs. Rebecca lands in the dark. Diana drops down right behind her, drags her, throws her against the wall, raises her arm to strike. Sophie steps in. Sophie shoots at Diana. Diana says with the particular cruelty of something that has spent decades inside someone's head, "That won't hurt me." And Sophie says, "This will." She puts the gun to her own head. She says, "There is no you without me." Rebecca screams. Martin screams. Sophie says she's saving their lives. She does. Diana does not shatter so much as dissolve, like a flame going out, a scatter of light, and then nothing. The moment Sophie is gone, Diana is gone. The lights in the house come back on one by one. Rebecca goes to her mother's side and stays there, crying on the floor. I think about Sophie a lot when I think about this movie. Not Diana, Sophie. Because the real horror isn't the figure in the dark. Diana is just the shape the horror takes. The real horror is a mother so isolated, so depressed, so completely without support for so many years that she couldn't be reached. Not by her daughter, not by her husband, not by doctors. And the only thing that could reach her was a dead woman who kept her sick on purpose. That's the kind of scary that doesn't go away when the credits roll. Because it's not supernatural. Isolation does this. Untreated mental illness does this. Abandonment does this. Diana is the horror movie version of something that is happening to real people without any monster involved at all. Outside, Rebecca, Brett, and Martin sit on the back of an ambulance while the bodies are carried out. Martin leans into his sister. Rebecca says it out loud. No more running away. No more leaving. They're staying. And just like that, the story that started with a little boy who couldn't sleep ends with a family that, for the first time, has nothing left to be afraid of in the dark. If this one sat with you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll be here every time a movie deserves more than a 2-sentence summary. Thanks for watching.